Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, I had a voice radio, so today I'm going to be showing you one of the most exciting cards from the upcoming Pokémon Sun and Moon trading card game expansion. It is Alolan Muk. But first, a quick word on Alolan Grimer. Now, Alolan Grimer has a free attack, that's right. Free attacks are coming back in Sun and Moon. They are only for Alolan Pokemon, and Alolan Grimer has one. Flip a coin. If heads, your opponent's active Pokemon is now poisoned. It's not a great attack, ladies and gentlemen, but you know what? You can use this attack without attaching any energy whatsoever, while attaching energy to a Pokemon you actually want to use on the bench. This is kind of cool. But really here, it's all about Alolan Muk. Now, he's a Psychic type, that's fine. Weakness to Psychic, as we said, does make him quite easy to KO, because you can copy attacks using things like Mew from Fates Collide, or indeed Mew EX, which saw a recent reprint. And in terms of Muk's attack, 2 Psychic, 2 Colourless, 90 damage, flip a coin. If heads, discard 1 energy attached to your opponent's active Pokemon. Not a terrible attack, but oh my word, it is overpriced. But I'm going to be honest with you lovely people. We are not playing Alolan Muk for the attack. We are playing it for the ability, Power of Alchemy. Stop me if this sounds just a little bit familiar. As long as this Pokemon is in play, each player's basic Pokemon in play, in their hand and in the discard pile, have no abilities. It sounds an awful lot like Garbodor. Now, it also sounds an awful lot like Silent Lab, but Silent Lab's a stadium. Your opponent can get rid of Silent Lab, so we're going to ignore that for the time being. But if you want to turn off abilities of basic, Silent Lab is an option. Cross your fingers that your opponent doesn't draw into a stadium of their own. Now, this is a lot like Garbodor, but there are 2 differences, and the differences are huge. Difference number 1, you do not have to have a tool attached to Alolan Muk in order for its ability to work, shutting off other abilities. Although, as a side note, it has a whopping retreat cost of 4, so you'll often want to attach a Floatstone anyway to stop Muk becoming a Lysander target. The other main difference here is that it only turns off abilities of basic Pokemon. So for the time being, we prefer Garbodor. Garbodor has abilities of all Pokemon. But of course, Garbodor will not remain in the rotation forever. Sooner or later, Garbodor will be rotated, and Alolan Muk is all we will have. So, I think we need to look at this in 2 ways. Firstly, how good it is now. Secondly, how good it is in the future. Now, turning off abilities of basics is huge. Shaman EX and Hooper EX are the 2 main abilities we use most often. They will be turned off. Volcanion EX really makes this EX deck run, and that's alright, because we can turn it off using Alolan Muk. This is good. But there are plenty of abilities that don't. The main one that springs to mind being Greninja Break, which of course is on an evolved Pokemon. But this is only half the story. We are going away from basic EXs into both basic and evolved GXs. And in the future, I think this will be much worse. Take one example, Decidueye, a brilliant ability that allows you to drop 2 damage counters somewhere on your opponent's side of the board once per turn. This is spectacular, ladies and gentlemen. However, it's on an evolved Pokemon. So, Alolan Muk won't do anything, whereas Garbodor will. And this is, I believe, in the direction in which we are currently heading. At the moment, we're good, because there's an awful lot of basic Pokemon. Now, Garbodor is still better for the moment. Let's make no mistake about this. He is better. However, he won't be around forever. Now, Alolan Muk is really good for your Shaman, for your Hooper, for your Volcanion, but he's not so good against a whole bunch of things. Now, we did talk about Oranguru recently, and of course, he is a basic Pokemon with a really good ability that Alolan Muk will turn off. So, I suppose if we are really going to talk about Alolan Muk, we can never say it's good or it's bad. We can only say this. If there are a whole bunch of basics that rely on abilities, this is amazing. If there aren't a whole bunch of basics that rely on abilities, I mean, meh. Just meh. Now, don't get me wrong, it will always have its uses. For the time being, it's not really any better than Silent Lab, although, of course, if you put Silent Lab out, your opponent has the opportunity to get rid of it and then use their abilities. which of course helps them out greatly. It is better than Garbodor in that as soon as you evolve, you get the benefit of the ability, and let's not forget that you can use Wally to evolve Alolan Grimer into Alolan Muk on the first turn of the game. As a side note, I've said this before, you can only evolve Alolan Muk from Alolan Grimer, not from regular Grimer. It's not really a big deal, but I thought it was worth mentioning anyway. You never know if a good Grimer card is going to be revealed and released in the future. For now, I think it is worse than Garbodor. I think turning off all abilities, even having to have a tool attached, makes it much better. But there will be a time when Garbodor goes away, at which point the question is, how good are basic abilities? So I give this card anywhere between 2 Wassies and 5 Wassies. In a format dominated by basic Pokemon with abilities, this will be an absolute must-play in every single deck. But at the moment, it's not quite as good as Garbodor, and in the future, if all the abilities we're using are on evolved Pokemon, it will become a moot point. Now, you know the deal, ladies and gentlemen, this is YouTube after all. Comment, like, subscribe, follow me on Twitter, @TheWassie, and the most important thing as always, look after yourselves until next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.